Hello students, welcome back to 2D video game design. Today we're going to start working on creating a platformer. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new game, and I'm going to make sure that I use my 2D template, and I'm going to call this platformer. Of course, if you know what you want to call your game, feel free to give it a different title, but let's go ahead and create that. Okay, so here we are in Unity in our default scene. There's my camera view right there. And I'm going to go ahead and create my player object. So it's a 2D object, it's a sprite, and I'm going to go ahead and call it player. Now I can't see it, and remember that's because I haven't added a sprite on, and just for the time being, I'm going to go ahead and just use the knob sprite right here. And since we want to make a side-scrolling platformer this time, I'm going to go ahead and add the rigid body 2D to it, and I'm also going to add the box collider 2D to it. So now when I go to preview my game, we see that my sprite falls right off the screen. So let's go ahead and create something for my sprite to interact with here. So we're going to experiment with Unity's 2D tileset features, the TileMap, and talk about how to create some custom artwork for our platformer. So here we are in Piskel, and this is where I go to make my pixel art. So I'm going to go ahead and create a sprite. Now, there's a little trick to this one. What I want to do is make an 8x8 tile, but in order to make sure that all of my tiles fit together, I want to do it in a very specific way. So I'm going to make a 3x3 set of 8x8 tiles. So that means if I have three 8x8s, it's going to be a 24x24. So let me go ahead and resize this, and I'm just going to change this right here. So it's going to be 24. Oops, let's do that again. 24x24. We'll click resize. Okay, and now the first thing that I'm going to do is mark off where each section is. So I'm just going to count right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's going to be the end of my first tile. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let me count that again. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's the end of my second tile. Now starting from the top going down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this square right here would be my first tile, and there's my second and my third. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's the end of my second row. I'm going to go ahead and just create a straight line across here, and this will create a guide for me as I'm creating my 9 tiles. Now, obviously, I don't want this tic-tac-toe shape on my sprite, but I'm just going to use this as a guide. That being said, I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to rename this guide, and then I'm going to turn the opacity to 0.25. That way it's kind of see-through. Okay, now the idea here, and I'm going to draw this very quickly, I'm going to add another layer, and let's call this layer dirt. Okay, so I'm going to put, oops, I named the wrong one. So let's call layer 1 dirt. I'm going to put the guide on top of it. So I've clicked the move layer up, And so now if I go here, I can still see this faint X or tic-tac-toe shape on here. So I'm going to go ahead and create some dirt here. I've got my orange palette right here, and I'm just gonna paint bucket and dump the whole thing in right there. Now the idea is that I should have a left ending, a middle top, a right ending, a left middle ending, a middle solid, a right ending, and then the right bottom corner, the middle bottom, and the left bottom. So in order to accomplish that, I'm just going to get the eraser here, and I'm going to start making this a bottom shape. Like that. I'll do something similar over here. Okay, and then along the sides, I do want to see an ending here, so I'm just gonna go all the way up and erase that last pixel off on the side. And curve this one out a little bit more. Okay, so that's pretty basic right there, and if you want, you can go through. I'm gonna add some shading here onto my dirt. And I'll also add on some highlight right here. Oops. And then you can also, if you like, go through and add some specks right here, and this can just be random. Kind of looks like chocolate chips. And then I'll also add in some lighter specks, make it look kind of pixel dirt. All right. Now, that looks kind of basic there. That's okay. Let's go ahead and add a grass layer too. So again, I'm going to go through here and I'm going to call this grass. And I want the grass to only be present on top right here. So I'm going to switch over to my greens palette. And I'm just going to let's do a rectangle of green right here. There we go, and then I'll fill that in. And then might want to curve it a little bit, so I'm gonna just soften this up right here, just like that. And then just like on the other one, I can add in shading along the bottom and highlight along the top. Oops. Okay, so if we look up here, that's a very basic 9-tile grass platform, and I did that very quickly. You should probably spend some more time making this look exactly how you want it. I'm gonna go right here to the guide and I'm gonna delete that now. So I have my 9-tile grass platform here. So let me go ahead and save this. I'm gonna call this grass tiles. And I'm going to save it to my gallery. and then I'm going to export it. Now, right here for my export, I can do it at a certain scale. I'm going to say I'm going to scale it up to, let's go ahead and do 20 times. That way I get nice clear resolution. And for this one, I only want this single frame. So I'm going to download that frame, grass tiles 1. Okay, now that that's done, let's go ahead and get back into Unity. And I'm going to create a new folder here. And I'm going to call this one tiles. Actually, let's sprites. And then let's also, while we're at it, go ahead and make another one called TileMaps. And that'll make sense later on. Okay, now for sprites, I'm going to go ahead and import a new asset. That asset is in my downloads folder because I just downloaded it. There's my grass tiles. And now I have the grass tiles in my assets. Now the next thing that I want to do is I want to be able to look at this. If I click on this, it shows that I have this one picture right here. But I don't actually just want the one picture. I want it to be 9 different pictures. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go over to this one right here, and this is going to be multiple sprites. This is going to be 9 different sprites. I want to go in here and say the mesh type is full rect. And then I'm going to go into the sprite editor. I can go ahead and apply that. Okay, so now I see that this right here is one big picture. I'm going to go over here and say slice. So now the type of slicing that I want, if I have clearly separated sprites on my picture, I can say go ahead and do it automatically. However, computer needs a little bit of help figuring out which one is which. So I'm going to say do it by cell count, which means in this one, I'm going to tell it how many columns and how many rows. So 3 columns and 3 rows, and go ahead and slice it. And now I can see that all of these are separated. So I'm going to say go ahead and apply that. And then if I close the sprite editor, I can go right here to my grass tiles. And now I can see that it's split it into the 9 different pieces that I want to be using. So in order to start painting with this, I'm going to go over here into my hierarchy, and I'm going to create a new 2D object, and it's going to be a tile map. Okay, so now I have this grid. So if I go here, here's my tile map, and we're going to end up adding several different tile maps. So I want to rename this to whatever I'm tiling right here. I'm going to call this my grass and dirt tile map. Now, in order to start painting with my tiles, I'm going to go ahead and go open up the tile palette window. So I do that by going Window, 2D, Tile Palette. And I can go ahead and grab this and dock it so it's in a place where I can see it easily. I'm going to go ahead and shrink my inspector a bit, that way I can see. And I'm going to say go ahead and create a new palette. I'm going to call this grass and dirt. Let's go ahead and create. Now it's going to ask where I want to create this. I'm going to go back into my tile maps, and I'm going to call this one grass and dirt. Oops, just kidding. I'm just going to select that folder right there. Okay, so now it says right here, for the grass and dirt tile map, drag the tile, the sprite, or sprite texture assets here. So I can go through and drag these individually, but I can do it quicker if I just grab the parent and drag it in right there. Where do I want this to happen? I want this to happen in my tile maps. So there it is. Now, here's my player right here. So if I want to give my player some grass to land on, I can grab this tile right here. That's where I want to start. And then I can start painting on this grid. Okay, so first thing that I notice here, while these tiles are joining up nicely, they're very large. And there's a small problem here. I'm going to go back to my sprite editor. And right here, it says how many pixels per unit. It's saying that each of these is going to be 100 pixels per unit. However, if I go back here, I see that my resolution here was 480 by 480. And if 480 by 480 is the whole thing, I would divide that by 3 to figure out each one, which means 480 divided by 3 is 160. So it thinks that each of these sections is 160 pixels. So what I want to do here is adjust this so it's 160, and then click apply. Okay, and now you see that all of these fit nicely. So I can go and just paint this and say I want an ending there and an ending there. And then I want this one to go right there. We'll make it go down a little bit further. And then we'll end it right here. Actually, let's go right there. And right there. Okay, so you can see that there's a little bit of weirdness right here where it doesn't quite connect, and I could go back and fix that up a little bit to make sure that all of my pieces are connecting properly. But as you can see right there, I was able to create a custom platform for my player to land on. I'm just gonna go over here and add on a little bit more. And we'll finish that up later. But now I can push play, and I see there's my level. So right now my character is falling straight through, and we don't want that. So I'm going to go to my grass and dirt tile map, and I'm going to add on a rigid body and a collider onto this one. Now, instead of the box collider, I want to use the tile map collider. And if you look at this right here, you can see that it's wrapping around my pixels right here. We want that, that's good. And I'm also gonna go and add a rigid body 2D. Now, I don't want the platforms to fall when struck by my character, so I'm gonna go ahead and say that these are kinematic bodies. So now if I push play, I see that my player will fall down and land on top of this platform that I've created. So one more thing, let's go ahead and give this player some left and right controls. So going back to assets, I want to create a new folder for my scripts. And let's go into scripts and let's create a new C# script. We'll call that one player controller. We've done this before. Okay, so remember to move. We want to do transform.translate. And then we need to put our arguments in there. So which direction are we moving? We are moving vector2.right times, and then remember, in order to balance out the time, we're going to do time.delta time. And then we're going to multiply that times speed. And then we're going to multiply that times horizontal input. Okay, now I'm getting errors right there, and hopefully you realize that the errors are because I haven't defined speed or horizontal input. So let's go ahead and go up here and say that I have a public, oh my goodness, public float called speed, and right now that speed, let's go ahead and set it to 10f. And then I have a public float called horizontal input, and we don't know what that is yet, but right here in the update, once per frame, let's figure out what the horizontal input is. So horizontal input is equal to input.getAxis. Which axis do I want? In quotes, I want the horizontal axis. Okay, Control S to save. And then in order to make that take effect, I have to actually drag the script onto the player. And now I can push play. And you see the player falls, and I can use left and right to move. If I fall right here, I fall off the cliff, ending the game. Let's do this again. Let's see, can I gain enough speed to make it onto the other platform? Click on that first. Yes, I can. And then I can fall off. Okay, this is the start of our platformer.